The Ministry of Potbangerz, which is a 501c3 committed to the care and service of the people of the community, particularly unhoused people, both through direct service and preparing and sharing of meals and items for comfort and safety on the streets, along with advocacy and stirring up pots, both actually to create meals and stirring the pot of our elected officials and others who often turn a cold heart toward our unhoused family. And so being an organization that lives out that mission in the community. And that organization is the brainchild of none other than Kathy Daniels, known by everyone as MamaCat, and known by those of us at Eden Seminary as Dr. Daniels or Dr. Cat, because she is a recipient of an honorary degree for her vision in founding this organization and her leadership in the community. And so we are joined by Dr. Daniels here with us, and we are delighted with that. And we are joined by pastors and members of two congregations that have collaborated with Potbangerz over the past several years. I'm Deb Krause, the president of Eden Seminary, and I am going to begin this conversation with a question to you, MamaCat. So how did that work that began in the streets of Ferguson find its way into a collaboration with congregations? Would love to hear you reflect on that.
Wow. So, when Michael Brown was killed, I was just out there trying to help where I can, didn't know where my place was. I was at the time a student at Culinary Institute of St. Louis, working on a culinary degree, and went out there and met the Lost Voices. And, when I asked them, how can I help them? They said, look, a hot meal won't hurt nothing. And that's when I first came with the meal. I could have dropped it off and kept going. But the important thing is sitting down, breaking bread. When you break bread, you break down walls. And so I shared the meal with these young folks on that day. And from that day forward, every day I got out of school and went and sat with those young folks. And I didn't just eat with them, but I listened and they listened to me. And, that's when you start breaking those walls down. Before Michael Brown was killed, I'm not going to name the church, but I was a member of a church. And when this happened, this particular church didn't really appreciate us being out in the streets. And so I knew that I couldn't stay there because my place is here. And, I was willing to go and still willing to go to whatever, in the name of justice, right? So I was out there and I was like, man, churches, I had that, I started getting that mentality, and I remember that one night when it was like a whole line of preachers came out there in front of the Ferguson Police Department. I thought that was the dopest thing in the world. And I'm like, I need to know them, and I eventually did know them. And I knew y'all. And when Antonio Martin was killed by Berkeley police, this is where that connection first really started happening. That night, that's the night that things happened with Josh that landed him where he at right now. And, it was so much trauma that was going on. And mom was out there and they had her standing there like not far from where her child is laying under the sheet dead, where they done killed her child, but they standing there making her stand there and talk to them. I just couldn't not go, when I had an opportunity and talk to her. And I discovered something that she not only didn't know how she gonna pay her rent, about how she gonna bury her son. And what is she gonna do? How's she gonna make it through? You know, and I remember we did a fundraiser to help pay for their funeral. And by that time, you know, I was getting to know Reverend Sekou and Pastor Renita and Reverend Tracy and yourself, and it was organic. And you know, and they would always say in the movement during the uprising, okay, well, we got Lost Voices over here, we got this group over here, we got Hands Up, we got this one, that one, and then we got the clergy, and MamaCat go with the clergy. So I'm just thankful, because for a while I was like, where's the church at? But the church came to the street, and that was the dopest thing that ever happened.
Wow.
And so yeah, that's how that happened. And you know, I'm thankful because, you know, we had our Christmas party, the first movement Christmas party. I don't know where I get this right idea with me and Donna. I don't know what we was thinking about, but we was able to bring every organization in this movement into First Congregational, United Church of Christ, on Ride Down, and the whole movement was in that room. And it was a beautiful thing. Then the winter of 2017, that was the most horrible winter I can remember in St. Louis, and I knew the temperatures was going to drop. And you know, when people say, call me, I'm going to call you. And Elliot Davis told me to call him. So I called him, because what you need to see is the city's not doing their job. People are dying out here. Mr. Grover Perry died in a porta potty. I mean, someone died in the dumpster. It was all of that going on. So now the mayor need to be put on spotlight, because they're not doing their job. So it brought a lot of people out. So in this season right now, I feel good that it's so many people that's out there now on the streets, because we put out a call a couple of years ago, and the people answered, and they still there.
Patrick and Josh, I'm going to start with you all as pastors. What are the connections there that you see to ministry?
We wanted to do something here at St. Peter's regarding unhoused here in Ferguson. And because of MamaCat's ministry and her witness. And we sat down in the library, me and Josh and MamaCat and a couple of others, and had kind of that first conversation. And that was the first, and it eventually turned into the Ferguson Warming, and part of the Ferguson Warming Center. Now, when I, especially during this COVID year, when we think about our ministry and our witness, it is very much centered around our relationship with Potbangerz and with the unhoused. The relationship with Potbangerz, the work that we have done on whether it's hosting her and her work, whether it's the Warming Center, has helped us shift in a huge conversation from just being a mission-centered faith community to being justice-centered. Things that were difficult conversations 2.5 years ago are things that are taken for granted now. And I mean that in a positive way. It's just assumed now that this is who we are.
MamaCat's concept of breaking bread, which has, I think, in good ways infiltrated St. Peter's in ways maybe we didn't know was there until we reflect back. So I can think about numerous church members, either longstanding members or newer members, who just through having MamaCat and Potbangerz and Warming Center in the building would develop relationships, hear conversations, and then say, oh, that's interesting. Can I be a part of that? Or, oh, you know what? I think I actually have some clothes at home that I could bring. Or, you know, I do have a leftover blanket. Do you ever need that? Like stuff like that, that seem trivial and trite in the moment, because it's just like, okay, yeah, sure, we can take a blanket. Yeah, sure, we need coats, right? I add to mushroom, to use Patrick's word, to mushroom into something bigger. That just adds to the mission and the justice work and the equity work that is happening.
I first was involved with Potbangerz before becoming a part of the church community. And kind of similar, I guess, to MamaCat, I wasn't used to seeing the church in the streets doing the justice-seeking work. But in Ferguson, it was There was a chant that we would say at the end of actions that was, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains." And I really believe that. You know, being in the streets, I started hearing things like, "Well, I'm praying with my feet." It's action, and it's being a part of the community that the pastors talk about in his sermons, talking about the Spirit agitating, advocating, holding us accountable. That's what being in the streets about. That's what taking care of each other is about. Taking food downtown with MamaCat.
Reverend White, in coming into your position at First Congregational, how have you thought of this?
When I looked at FCC's profile, that was one of the reasons I was very interested in applying for the senior minister position. When you think about, for me, what comes to mind, go out and make disciples. Too often the church gets that confused and thinks that that means membership, maintaining membership. And for me, the key word in there is go out. You know, meet people where people are at. To hear MamaCat say she prepared meals and she sat with people and she ate with people, she listened. For me, that speaks the volumes of the kind of ministry that we all should be doing, especially today. This is how you build community. This is how you dismantle all the isms in the community, becoming one with the community. And most of all, listening to people, learning people's names, reading the profile and seeing that they were in partnership with MamaCat and the Potbangerz, for me that's energy. That's real good. That's godly energy.
Paul and Claire Brady, members of Potbangerz and members of First Congregational St. Louis.
We knew that something was going on in the kitchen, and I was a member of the Mission and Outreach Committee, and we weren't sure who MamaCat was, and we have a lot of different organizations that we are connected to. And one of my jobs was to find out more about MamaCat and Potbangerz. So I started coming down on a Thursday to see what it was about. And MamaCat was just so welcoming, and there was always something different going on every week. And it was just it was an absolutely amazing experience.
Through the work that Claire was doing, and we were bridging between ministers. So even though in our strategic vision, we had a goal to, for justice, being a beacon of light for justice in St. Louis, I think we both came to the conclusion that the work that MamaCat was doing, and once you get to know MamaCat and Perez and the rest of the family, you naturally fall in love not only with the mission, but with the people. We started then to invest in the kitchen. I think we have a role to play to support MamaCat, but I think there's another role that we can that should evolve here. And as Patrick and Josh said, this should be the catalyst to take our congregation from the pews to actually prayer by walking and being involved and participating in conversations. Because, being an Englishman, I'm a little bit satirical and sarcastic on people being do-gooders. And I think the best thing to do to be a do-gooder is to go and do it. Thank you, MamaCat, for helping us.
Y'all just got me sitting over here blushing in all kinds of ways, all that positive energy. And that's just what we wanted to create, is a space where, we say the revolution, talk about revolution. The revolution is love, and love always wins. We have this transitional house that will serve women, straight, cisgender, queer, and transgender women. Because of relationships with the church, we'll be able to keep on lifting up people, showing them that you don't have to stay where you are. I mean, I can always go out there, I love to cook a good meal and go and break bread with the unhoused fam, but at the same time, I don't want to be always calling them my unhoused fam. I want to be able to go and support my family that got off the street that's in their own place, you know? And so that's what this transitional house is, just the start. And y'all got to come by and see it. It is amazing. Together, we can take those mountains and say, move. I think so. But I thank you all, because, you know, none of us is as good as all of us.